Hello, Chris Godinez, licensed professional counselor, also the host of We Need to Talk on every Sunday here at noon and on YouTube, and then I post it up to Facebook. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. If you feel you need a therapist, please go to Google, type in therapy, your city, Psychology Today will pop up, click on that, and it will have qualified therapists in your area. Also, the views and opinions stated herein are mine and mine alone. They do not represent the ACA, the APA, or any other damn therapist for that matter. Boom, shakalaka done. Okay. So a couple of things. Apparently, we've got a super chat thing. John is going to be monitoring it and all that sort of good stuff. I have no idea what it is. That's his deal. He was just like, oh, let people know. I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't know. Anyway, there is that. Also, I wanted to remind you that Susanna Quintana at SusannaQuintana.com. She can go across state lines. She can go internationally. She can do all that sort of fun stuff. She is not hemmed in by state laws, which are antiquated and stupid. But anyway, if you're outside of Arizona, she is your girl. So there is that. Also, what was I going to tell you? Shahida's new book. This is not her new book. This is her older book. But her new book is coming out. Shahida's new book is coming out October 20th. You can pre-order it on Amazon. I am excited for that. I cannot wait to see that one. And then my two books are available on Amazon as well and Audible. And I do the reading on them because I can't stand having other people read my stuff. And this is Susanna's book. This is available in bookstores. So you are still that girl. You're still that girl by Susanna Quintana. If you are going through a divorce, Splitting by Bill Eddy and Randy Krieger. Excellent, excellent book. Basically has in there everything that I've said about divorcing somebody who is malignant. So great book. Highly recommend it. All right. So there's that. Okay. Trying to think if there's any other announcements I need to make. I think that's it. Okay. So today's topic is finances, friend or foe. So I did one on finances not too long ago, but then people sent me more stuff going, is this financial abuse? Is this financial abuse? How do I, I've got such a screwed up idea of finances. How do I know what's healthy? So let's talk a little bit about that. And then I want to go into some specific examples. So when we are raised by a malignant narcissist or borderline or whatever, mostly narcissist, they've got some really screwy ideas about what is a healthy relationship with money and what isn't. So with a narcissist, remember, we have no more meaning to them than this pair of reading glasses. We are something to be used, okay? Money to them is a weird relationship. So it can go one of two ways. So in one way that I've seen narcissists behave is that money is everything. Money is their God, literally. And they can never have enough, literally, because obviously nothing's ever going to fill that hole that's inside of them. And so what's theirs is theirs, but here's the problem. What's yours is theirs as well. So what I've seen narcissists do, parental narcissists and romantic partners, is that if you go and spend something on you, they come unglued. How dare you? How dare you buy something nice for yourself? How dare you have fun with your own money? How dare you? How dare you? How dare you? You need to buy me this. You need to make up for it and buy me the exact same thing or something better. Or you need to take that back. How dare you have that? So that is what narcissists tend to do. They either do that or the money comes in and they spend it just as fast as they can. And it's a crazy dynamic. So it's kind of like, with the ones who what's theirs is theirs and what's yours is theirs too, it's kind of like a hoarding situation kind of thing. Like, my dad would steal my money. He would take whatever I earned and he would take it because he was like, well, that's mine anyway. Nice guy. Not. So, so there's that. Or you would see cases, I have cases of people coming and sitting on the couch when we actually used to come in and sit on couches. But, and one partner would do something nice for themselves and the other partner would literally throw a temper tantrum, act like a 2-year-old. How dare you? I deserve this. I deserve that. You need to spend your money on me, and not hearing themselves. Like they couldn't, and I'm sitting there watching them going, y'all hearing what's coming out of you? Do you understand the words that are coming out of your mouth? It's like, what the fuck? So yeah. Or what they do is that they get money and they spend it just as fast as they can on these stupidest things. And we talked about that a little bit last week, for the example being blowing it on a motorcycle, or blowing it on, leather goods, or not just for motorcycles, but like a leather jacket, or blowing it on a very expensive watch, or blowing it on a very expensive phone, or blowing it on a very, money that could have, should have been saved for rent, for kids, school, clothing, food, etc. Meanwhile, sorry, allergies are really bad. Meanwhile, the spouse is forced to work 2 jobs, 3 jobs, trying to bring in the money. But as soon as the spouse brings in the money, the narcissist grabs it. This is mine too. I need it, right? Like, it's not okay for the target to have any money of their own, and they go and spend it. And so there's a couple of things going on here. They're doing that so that the spouse does not have the money to retain an attorney. Really, that's what it boils down to. They do not want the spouse to get the money to be able to leave. They don't want the spouse to be able to get an apartment. They don't want the spouse to be able to get their own car. They don't want the spouse to be able to function without them. So they keep the spouse in a perpetual state of bankruptcy, or near bankruptcy, or, what's the word I'm looking for? They live in chaos. So they want it always to be this dramatic, we don't have enough funds, we don't have enough food, we're not going to be able to make rent, we're going to have to borrow it from your mom, your dad, my mom, my dad, whatever. I mean, it's crazy. So when we are raised in an environment where money is not related to, money is a means to an end. That's all money is. There's no emotional value to money. However, narcissists connect their sense of self, other esteem, outside external esteem, to money, to stuff, to things, right? Jewelry, clothing, car, that if they're not driving the biggest, baddest, bestest, whatever, then their self-esteem is terrible because, oh my God, what are people thinking? Well, nobody gives a fuck. Sorry. So they're equating stuff with esteem, right? Because they thrive on external other esteem. So when we're raised in an environment like that, we start connecting our sense of self to stuff. And that's a lot of times when you start investigating hoarders, you'll find that there's been a very dysfunctional, traumatic history in that person's life, and probably being raised by abusers, or, a narcissist, or whatever. So, okay. So when we grow up with that, we don't really have good boundaries. We don't know when to stop. We don't know when it's okay to say no. We don't know when it's okay to say yes, except with money. Okay, so this is all about money. Everything is interconnected. This is the crazy thing. It's like the more I delve into this, the more I realize everything is connected to self-esteem. Everything is connected to boundaries and being able to say yes or no. So some of the questions that I've gotten have been about, okay, well, I've got a friend and they're wanting me to spend all my money on them. Like every time we go out, I have to pay for the coffee. I have to pay for the food. I have to pay for this. I have to pay for that. So that's where it becomes interesting. And this is where it's a really good idea to take a really strong look at your friend picker. Okay. We tend to pick friends who remind us of the original wound. So if we're hanging out with people that are constantly take, you buy, I don't have the money, you buy, we are probably playing through something in our past. And that's something to take a look at. And this is kind of a huge red flag. Now, it's different if it's like, okay, the friend is in financial straits, they've just gone through some horrific thing, and you don't mind, taking them out every once in a while or paying for breakfast or whatever. That's fine. But if it's every single time, nothing extraordinary has happened, they don't even offer, then Houston, we're dealing with somebody that's probably not in your best financial interest. Does that make sense? So the other thing, like I said, is that, you get the abusers that are like spend. So then we start spending because nobody ever trained us or taught us how to budget. So I'm going to suggest this for literally every survivor of abuse. If you had crazy family that either spent, or were hoarders and were miserly and connected worth to money, it would be a really good idea to go take a budgeting class. I kid you the fuck not. Really good idea. Why? Because nobody ever taught us. Nobody ever taught us. Nobody ever taught us how do we manage money? What does money really mean? What is the meaning of money? And instead, we've assigned a whole bunch of emotional stuff to money, none of which is real. So what you want to do is you want to go take a budgeting class. Now, there are budgeting classes online. You can get on, you can find budgeting classes there. There are also budgeting classes at Fresh Start Women's Resource Center, which is here in Arizona. So if you're going to do that, then yeah, Dave Ramsey, that's another one. Yeah, absolutely. Any of that stuff. Go take a budgeting class. Really important. Figure out what your outgo is, what your income is. Back that around. What your income is, what your outgo is. Where is the money going? Now, if you are living with a narcissist, that's going to be impossible because they're going to sabotage. They're not going to stick to the budget. They're not going to want to save money. They're not going to want to, make sure that you have enough ever. So in a lot of cases, in a lot of abuse, what I see happen is that the target of abuse, either male or female, right, is trying to bring in the money, trying to do everything. And this abuser over here is spending it like water, like just plowing through it. What's theirs is theirs and what's yours is there. Oh, Lord, my sound is on. How did I do that? Let me turn that off. Okay. So when this person is trying to create enough money, this person will make sure there is never enough, ever. Now, let's talk about friendships because somebody asked me about that too. So, okay, in particular weddings. So the wedding season is gearing up here in Arizona because now we're coming into the cooler part of the year. It's so opposite from the rest of the country. So like everybody else gets married in like, April, May, June, that kind of thing. Here, people get married October, November, December, January because it's cool enough to have an outdoor wedding, which is nice. So in weddings, okay, let me tell you something. Weddings, funerals, pandemics, chaos lets you know who your friends are. Seriously, it brings out the best in people and it will bring out the worst in people. Weddings and funerals will bring out the absolute best and the absolute worst. And you will know who your true family is, who your true people are. So in other words, let's take the funeral as an example, and then we're going to hit weddings in a minute. When someone dies, holy cow, you're going to see a whole bunch of people with their hand out. Or you're going to see a whole bunch of people demanding that they have control over the estate, even though the will has designated somebody as the executor. Yeah. So narcissists can't stand that. Narcissists want to be in control of everything, and they want to rule sometimes from the grave. So sometimes you'll see somebody die and the narcissist will put a bunch of stipulations in the will trying to rule from the grave. That happens as well. And a good attorney would tell them, it's not going to stick. It's like a bad attorney will be like, yeah, we'll just throw it in, So they will try to rule from the grave, or you will have people start literally fighting over stuff and things and going into the house and cleaning it out before somebody can get there and distribute it fairly. It's crazy. It is crazy. Funerals, I have seen the weirdest shit happen. And I speak from experience because in this book, I talk about when my dad's parents died, and holy crap balls, it was a shit show. I mean, it broke the family apart. I have not seen my cousins since then. So that was in 1973. Yes, I'm old. Shh. Anyway, so the point being is that funerals will create this greed, because why? Well, a funeral is the ultimate abandonment. A funeral is the ultimate, goodbye, piss off, done, game over, right? And somebody who's got issues with that person who died is going to come unglued, and they're going to try to take as much of their stuff as possible to keep that person close to them. And if they hated them, then they'll destroy things that person really valued. So for example, my grandmother was an amazing crafts person. She did all sorts of crafts. She did like hooked rugs, but it wasn't hooked rugs. Like how the hooked rugs are kind of like, they have the stringy things that point out. This one was more like, how do I explain it? It was like folded over. It was like, I don't know. I'm somebody who's crafty out there will know what I'm talking about. But she did hooked stuff like that. And she had this beautiful 6-foot-long hooked rug that had mushrooms on it. It was beautiful. It was well done. It was colorful. It was realistic. He destroyed it. He put it in front of the fireplace and intentionally allowed it to get harmed. He had silver from my grandma's house that he threw into a closet and banged around and did all sorts of stupid stuff to it. So yeah, narcissists do weird things. They want to have the stuff. They don't want anybody else to have it, but they're not going to take care of it. At least some narcissists do that. So yeah, funerals will bring out the weirdest financial stuff with them. And again, they'll try to control and they'll sue and they'll have all sorts of crazy stuff going on. So what can you do? Basically, hopefully, whoever has died has got a will. And if you need to, get an attorney and fight it if it is a large enough estate. If it is not a large enough estate, walk the fuck away. It is not worth it. It is not worth it. It isn't. Just walk away. So, unless, of course, we're talking like millions of dollars, then it would be worth it to hire an attorney and kind of make sure that you're not getting screwed. But yeah, narcissists will do that. They have absolutely no moral compunction to play fair, ever, on any planet. Not on this or any other planet Earth. Let me just make that clear. They will never play fair. And the biggest mistake we make is assuming that they will. They will not. They don't want just a piece of the pie. They want the entire pie and the kitchen it was cooked in. So yeah, so that's that with funerals. So it will bring out the best in people. It will bring out the worst in people. So let us move on to weddings. Okay, so what I have seen multiple times, and I don't even watch the show. Apparently there's one called Bridezilla, but this happens. So when somebody has connected their sense of self to having this grand coming out or this grand wedding or whatever, they're going to want the best of 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 the best. Well, I don't know about you, but when John and I got married, we didn't have a whole lot of money, and my dad sure as hell was not going to pay for it because, please see previous chapter in this book, he was a stingy son of a bitch. I mean, you could not squeeze a greased BB up his ass. Seriously, not that you'd want to. But the point being is that he was stingy. He was beyond stingy. He gave us like $500 and said, good luck. And I'm sitting here going, $500, okay. But then what he did is he insisted to invite all of his business friends and wanted us to throw a huge party. So John and I basically called in our friends and we were like, okay, we can take you out to dinner. We can give you pizza. We can buy you, beer or whatever. And we can't pay you, but this is what dad has done. Can you help out? So we had a friend of ours who was a costumer, a theatrical costumer. He made my wedding gown for me. My sister's friend did the food for the wedding. I hired a student, very low cost, to do the photography because we couldn't afford to have a real professional photographer. So you make do and you do what you can. And then we paid for everything. I paid for the bridesmaids dresses. Why? Because after having been a bridesmaid for like 10 times before I got married, it was ridiculous to have to go and pay $200-300 for a bridesmaid's dress that I was never going to wear again. That was just going to go straight to Goodwill. Have you seen some of the bridesmaids dresses? Ew. Anyway, the point being is that when I had my wedding, I paid for everybody's bridesmaid's dress because I was like, no, I'm not gonna make you guys who don't have enough money to go do this. You guys are doing us a favor by being in our wedding. Thank you. Some brides will act as if the bridesmaids are there to service their every whim. This, again, weddings, funerals are going to bring out the best and the worst in people, and you will see who they are based on how they act with the wedding. So in some cases, the bride is a bridezilla. The bride probably has some sort of personality disorder, would be my guess. And they will start ordering the bridesmaids around and demanding that they pay for this and pay for that. And you need to do this and you need to do that. And you need to, and it needs to be perfect. It needs to be the best of the best and blah, 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 blah. So in one case, and this was somebody who wrote in, they said, okay, my friend, I've been iffy with this person for a while, but with this wedding, it's really kind of opened my eyes. And they are insisting that since I'm the maid of honor and their family is not paying for anything, that I have to pay for literally everything. And I'm like, no, you don't. No, you don't. And this country's got some really antiquated ideas on weddings. Don't get me started, but to go off on a bit of a tangent. So weddings traditionally are paid for by the bride's family, okay? and they were expected to be, there was expected to be a dowry. It's very patriarchal based. It's very bullshit. So I honestly think that weddings should be what the couple can afford, you know, and weddings should not be this ginormous, let's spend $100,000 million on this one day. You know, I would much rather have a small wedding, which is what I was thinking. We ended up having it in my sister's backyard until my dad started inviting all of his business people to it. But, you know, a small wedding, and then take the money that we had and go travel. That would be my ideal wedding, you know? So, anyway, so when you get bridezillas and they're demanding that other people pay for the wedding when their own family's not going to pay for it, and, you know, it's really not anybody else's obligation to pay for their wedding, then you downsize. You have to downsize. If you don't have the money, you downsize. You do a justice of the peace, or you do a very small, intimate little wedding with, you know, a few people, and then you can have a blowout party later at a reception, maybe a few months later when you save up the money. But narcissists don't think that way. Narcissists, my dad wanted this to be a spectacle for his business people, but he wasn't willing to give us the money to do it. So of course we did the best we could with what we had, and of course it wasn't good enough for him, you know, and I'm just kind of like, well, fuck you, asshole. You know, it's like, you gave me $500. Yay. So, you know, great. You gave me $500 and I'm trying to accommodate as much as I possibly can. Now, if I were to do that today, like if my dad were still alive and I was going to get married and he was like, well, I'm only going to give you $500, but I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and I'm going to invite this person and that person, I'd be like, no, you're not. But at the time, I didn't have the backbone to stand up to him. It wasn't until a few years later. Well, a few months later. So anyway, there that is. So yeah, so weddings also bring out the worst in people, and it's not anybody's job to supply a huge wedding. It's not. The couple needs to figure it out. It shouldn't be put on bridesmaids, groomsmen, whatever. I mean, I understand traditionally, you know, the maid of honor is supposed to do a lot of stuff, but a lot of these traditions, I think they're a burden. I do on healthy people. And it's especially a burden when you're dealing with a fucked up, dysfunctional family. No. So if you're dealing with a bridezilla, if you're dealing with somebody who wants the best of the best of the best of the best, but they don't have the money for it and nobody is helping them, it's up to you to decide how much you want to help. You know, I mean, some people, like I said, I am very eternally grateful to my sister's friends who kicked in and did the catering and helped us out. And the student that did the photos, she did a great job. You know, I mean, you lower your expectations and you can still have a great day. But I think it's a mistake to spend, you know, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 on one day. You know, it's like, okay, who are you trying to impress, kind of thing. And that was my dad's thing. He wanted to impress people. And weddings are not about that. Weddings are about the couple coming together and deciding that they want to spend their lives together. And that's what it should be the focus of, not, you know, how expensive was the cake and how expensive was the venue and how expensive is the dress and blah, 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 blah. So you want to be very careful. It's like if you've been asked to be in a wedding and it's a bridezilla, you always have the right to back out. You do. You don't have to sit and take it. You know, it's like, you know, especially if this person is behaving poorly and is demanding, you could try pointing it out to them. I don't think you'll get very far with them. But if they continue to push and push and push and push and push, you can say, I'm sorry, I can't financially do this. You know, that's perfectly okay. So why do we attract people like that? Well, it goes back to our picker being broken. And sometimes you got to realize sometimes people that do this are extremely covert. And it doesn't really come to the forefront until you turn up the heat with some sort of event, whether that is a death, whether that is a wedding, whether that is a pandemic, whether that is, you know, whatever. So people show themselves for who they are. This person has shown you who they are. Believe them the first time. You know, it's not anybody's job to pay for their wedding. It's the couple's job to figure out what they can afford and then make it work the best they can. And if that means a justice of peace, that means a justice of the peace. Or if that means a very small, intimate little wedding, that's a small, intimate little wedding. It's nobody else's job to make it good for them. You know, it's on a, if you want to help, that's great. If you don't, that's cool, you know? So, anyway, so our picker is broken and we tend to attract people that subconsciously remind us of mom, dad, grandparents, whoever the issue is that had the money problem in the first place. And then, of course, when the heat gets added of either weddings, funerals, pandemic, whatever, then their true selves start showing up. And somebody who's got a sense of entitlement, and this happens with the funerals and this happens with the weddings. Somebody who's got a sense of entitlement, you have to be very careful because that's one of the signs of narcissism, a sense of entitlement. You owe me. You must do this, obligation. If you don't do this, I will stop being your friend. Fear, obligation, guilt, which is fog. So if this friendship is now turning into, oh my God, I'm afraid they're not going to love me because I'm not bowing to their every whim. Oh my God, I feel obligated. I'm the man of honor. I'm the maid of honor. I have to put out all this money. Well, no, because if you don't have the money, no. And then guilt. Oh my God, I feel so guilty. I can't help out, blah, blah, blah. No, because a healthy, normal person would be like, look, I know you don't have the money. Do what you can. Don't worry about it. We're going to have a good time. You know, it's okay. That kind of thing. So, oh, yeah. So our picker is broken. And we've picked somebody who reminds us subconsciously of our family of origin. And then, like I said, when the heat gets turned on, that's when the mask drops. And that's when the real them comes out. And then we need to watch our relationship with money. We really, really, really need to watch how we relate to money. What does it mean to us? Really? Like, what does money mean? It's a means to an end. It provides us with housing. It provides us with clothes. It provides us with, fun stuff, things to do, that kind of thing. But it is not who we are. It is not who we are. Yes, you have to have money. I know it's the society where we have to have money. But narcissists give us this weird relationship to it. Either it's to be hoarded, like smog, like a dragon. A dragon's hoard, it's like, you can't have any. Or they spin it like, oh my God, it's evil. It's evil. Got to get rid of it. Evil. Got to get rid of it. And I've heard narcissists do that too as their excuse for getting rid of the money. Oh, well, money is the root of all evil. So I can't hold on to it because it's evil. What? That's bullshit, motherfucker. Money is neither evil nor good. It is what we do with it that makes it either evil or good. It is how we relate to it that makes our behavior towards it either evil or good. So there's a lot of weird stuff. And I strongly encourage you, write it out, journal it out, get it out of your head, get it onto paper. How do you feel about money? Are you okay having it? Or do you feel like you need to get rid of it as soon as possible? Is it okay for you to have money? I know for the longest time because of my dad, because he would steal my money. He would take my money. I would work and he would take it and he would be like, well, it's mine anyway, because I worked at his office, never worked for family. So, he would do that for the longest time. I was like, oh, I guess it's not okay for me to have money, And I always felt weird when I did have money. And I always felt like I needed to take care of other people. So that was the codependency. So it creates this whole codependent, weird relationship to money. And I think this is really something to go through the codependency books with. What is your relationship with money? Does it play into the codependency? Do you feel like you need to take care of other people with your money? Do you feel you need to give it away all the time? Is it okay for you to have money? Is it okay for you to save? And then, of course, if you're in an abusive relationship and they are actively preventing you from keeping money or having enough money, you're going to have to do things to save the money, squirrel it away so that they have no access to it. Seriously, open up a separate bank account. If you are making money, you're going to have to tell them you're not making as much as they think you are. Okay. And a lot of times, though, they'll demand the pay stub. So that's extreme cases of abuse. They'll be like, I want to see the pay stub. I need to know how much you're making. How come you're putting it away in a separate account? Blah, blah, blah. Because they don't want you to leave. So if you can put it in a separate account, put it in a separate account. If you can't, squirrel some of it away and keep saving it up. Lawyers' fees cost anywhere between, I would say, $3,000 and $5,000 to retain them. And that goes fast, guys. So you want to save up as much money as you possibly can if you are planning on leaving one of these relationships. But getting back to, what is your relationship with the money? How do you feel about it? What does money mean to you? What emotional baggage have you put onto the money? What is bullshit? What is real? Remember, money is to be used. It is an object. It is not a person. It is to be a means to an end. But what emotional stuff have you put on top of that? Because if you're making it mean that you're worthy and this, that, and the other thing, you're always going to be depressed and you're always going to be less than, because again, like with a narcissist, it's never enough. The world is not enough. So what is your relationship to money? How do you feel about it? I would seriously journal it out. I would seriously go through the codependency books with an eye towards, is this part of my codependency? Is this why I'm always broke? Do I feel like I have to take care of other people because I'm not worthy, self-esteem, of having money? Where did that come from? Wow, mom or dad always made sure I didn't have enough. So Self-Esteem Workbook by Glenn Schiraldi, Disease to Please, Harriet Breaker, Codependent No More, Beyond Codependent No More by Melanie Beattie, books by Pia Mellody. Trying to think. Do read up on budgeting. Budgeting, it's hugely important. And what I find is, and this happened to me as well, when I first started budgeting with John, I hated it. I hated it because it felt like a punishment and it felt like not enough and, being taken away from and this, that, and the other thing. Well, it's all bullshit. That's all the bullshit that came from my dad. So it's really important to sit down and really have an honest to God, come to Jesus meeting with yourself and your feelings about money and your worth, and that you are not your money. You are not your physical things. You are you. Having money is okay. It's necessary in this society. All right. So going on too long. So let's get to the questions. Okay. What should you do if a narcissistic parent or friend or ex offers you money? If you need help, just ask, but there will be strings attached. You don't take it. It's not worth it. It would be so nice if we could be able to be like, okay, yeah, I can take that and, not have any strings attached. They're always going to have an agenda. Always. They do. That's just what they do. And you want to be very careful of that, because that is one way that narcissists and abusers keep you hooked, is by, I gave you all this money. You owe me. Obligation. I gave you all this money. How dare you treat me that way? How dare you don't allow me to run your life? How dare you don't allow me to fill in the blank? Guilt. If you don't pay me back this money and acknowledge that, I get to control your life now, I'm never going to speak to you again. Fear, obligation, and guilt. So yeah, you should say, thank you very much. No, thank you. And that's what I started doing when I left home, because as soon as I left home at 17, of course, my mom was like, I'll give you money. I'll give you money. I'll give you money. I'm like, no. I'm going to earn my money. Thank you very much. That's the other thing that I see narcissistic parents do, is that they try to control the money. So the kid is becoming a young adult and they won't teach them, not just don't have time, but won't teach them how to balance a checkbook, how to balance a savings account, how to function as a functioning adult in the real world, how to get a credit card, how to, they don't do that because they don't want you to be independent. So it's really important to start working on independence. This is all self-esteem. You start managing your own stuff. It's like, I can do this. So it's all self-esteem. So yeah, do be very careful with the strings attached. I would say no. Does narcissism and hoarding go together? Yes, it can. Absolutely. My narc parents' house is so filled with useless crap they should be on TV. Oh, honey. When my dad died, it's in here. But when my dad died, we found there was an entire, oh God. Okay. So we lived on a ranch, right? And there was a shop filled floor to ceiling with old tires, right? Jar after jar after jar after jar of bent, rusted nails, and I realized part of that is because he was raised during the Depression. He grew up during the Depression. But yeah, it tends to be based on their childhood. Yeah. I mean, is it the narcissism? Some of it. Yeah, for sure. My dad would hoard silver coins and silverware and things like that. I mean, he was crazy. I mean, silverware that didn't even match anything. And yeah, they hoard stuff because it's never enough. They're trying to fill this hole inside of them, and they will fill it with bent nails and old, tires. And, we had stuff there for milking cows. We didn't have cows. I'm like, why do we still have this? I mean, it was like, Yeah. Yes. Yes. I think it's because they need to fill in that hole all the time. So yeah. My narc parent would have a meltdown when I asked for money for birthdays and Christmas, claiming it was rude. Is this because narcs don't want you to have money? Yes, part of it is. Yeah, part of it is they don't want you to have their money. They don't want you to have any money. Money is freedom, really, when you think about it. If you have enough money to pay for a roof over your head, clothing, and food, and gas for a car or for a bus ticket, you have freedom because you're not depending on anybody else. So, yeah, my dad never did birthday presents ever. You know, my mom's the one that always ran out and got the birthday presents and things like that. My dad had a fit that I was going to college. He wanted me to go off to beauty school and become a hairdresser because, oh, it's a good, you know, you could support yourself and blah, 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 blah. And he didn't see the value of me going to college. So he sabotaged as much as he possibly could. So yeah, they don't want you to be successful. They don't want you to have money. They, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I would stop asking them because if they're not going to give it freely, fuck them. You don't need it. So there it is. If someone is asking the bridal party to pay for anything and everything they could, would that indicate a personality problem? Well, again, it depends on the situation. Like, say, for example, you know, the bridal party can't afford it and they could suggest, hey, if you guys are willing, if you could help out, that would be great. That we'll consider that, you know, like a present to us. Thank you so much. But if they're doing it and they're like, you know, demanding that you pay for everything and, you know, just being like what's the word? Entitled expectations. Whew, expectations are up here. Reality is down here. You know, then you kind of got to take a look at that. If they're going beyond their means and they're demanding that everybody else pay, I would have a talk with them and just be like, hey, I can't afford this. This is going to bankrupt me, and I'm not willing to go bankrupt for your wedding. You know, sorry, I'll do as much as I can, but yeah. So yeah, I mean, that is a concern. I think our whole antiquated way of doing weddings needs to be redone and rethought because it no longer applies. So yeah, I talk to the person and realize there's a lot of stress involved with weddings, a huge amount of stress, especially if there is disordered in-laws or disordered family in any way, shape, or form trying to influence the wedding, which almost happened in ours. So yeah, you want to sit down and just have a honest to God talk with them and be like, hey, I can't afford all of this. I'll do what I can, but I'm not going bankrupt for your wedding. So there's nothing wrong with that. And if they boot you out, they boot you out. They're not your people. All right. Please give me advice on how to stop responding to the narc. I feel bad and guilty if I don't, and I feel pain by the idea of never talking to them again. Okay. Whoa, a little off topic, but okay. All right. So when we go no contact, it literally is like coming down off of a drug that we were addicted to. It is. And we do feel the withdrawal. We do. And our bodies feel the withdrawal because the endorphins, dopamine, serotonins are no longer there. So we become addicted not to the abuse, but to the person, because they would do the I love you, I love you, I love you, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, I love you, I love you, I love you, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. And we started becoming addicted to those times when they were good to us. Something that will help you to stop responding is block them. Block them. Block them. Have a trusted friend that you can talk to when you want to talk to your abuser. Seriously, instead of contacting the abuser, because you ain't never going to, honey, you are going to a well that is not only poisoned and salted, it's dry. Okay, there is nothing there. Stop going back to a well that you're not going to get anything out of except more pain. So you need to have a trusted friend or trusted family member that you can contact when you want to contact the narcissist and talk it through. What you want to do is you want to write down every rotten thing they ever did to you, seriously, and put it somewhere where you can see it to remind yourself, oh yeah, this is what I went through. Oh yeah, this is what they said to me. Oh yeah, this is what they did to me. Fuck them. I don't need to talk to them. You block them on everything so they have no way to contact you. You do not need to be talking to them. Go no contact. No contact means you block them on social media, you block them on the phone, you block them in the email. You do not allow them to have an avenue to get to you. Because I'll tell you what, the more you talk to them, the more likely you're going to go back. And you don't want that. So Seriously, get with a good therapist. Start working on self-esteem. The Self-Esteem Workbook by Glenn Schiraldi, or You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. Start working that. Boundaries, The Disease to Please by Harriet Breaker. Anything by Pia Melody. Codependent No More and Beyond Codependent No More by Melanie Beattie. You do not owe them anything. If there is fear, oh my God, I'm never going to see them again. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Obligation, but I owe it to them. They texted me and they want a response. Or guilt. Oh, I feel so guilty that I didn't respond to them. That is your clue that it is a hugely unhealthy, toxic relationship. Listen to me now. Believe me later. Healthy relationships do not have fog, fear, obligation, or guilt. Healthy relationships do not. Okay, so get with a good therapist, start working on self-esteem, figure out why you think you deserve to be treated that way. How do you think you're going to fix this person? You think you're going to heal them? They don't feel the same way about us that we feel about them. We have empathy, they don't. So we're thinking in our head, oh gosh, this is terrible. You know, they must be missing me. No, they're not. They're playing games. They don't have empathy. So get with a good therapist, work on self-esteem, work on boundaries, block them on every avenue so they have no way of contacting you. Get a good trusted friend that you can call instead and talk to them, or, you know, get with a good therapist and start, you know, write it out instead. Don't talk to them, block them. And if they keep contacting you, you got to ask yourself, why? Why are they trying to get back to a supply? That's what narcissists do. So be very careful. If you're continuing to talk to them, you're going to fall back into another bad cycle. And let me tell you something. If you've left the abuser and you go back, the abuse is going to be hundreds of times worse than it was in the beginning, because they're going to punish you for leaving in the first place. And they're going to know that they can do whatever they want because you miss them. You love them. And they're going to use that against you. My suggestion, run. Do not walk to the nearest exit. Block them on everything. Get with a trusted friend that you can talk to. Write it down. Block them on everything. Okay. Do narcissistic parents often expect you to support them financially when they are older? Yes, absolutely. I cannot tell you the number of times I have heard narcissists say, the only reason I had children is so that they could take care of me in my old age. Oh, yeah. Yep. We are seen as money bags. We are seen as caregivers. And they expect us, like seriously, they expect us to give up our lives to care for them in their old age. And no, absolutely not. It's not our job. Now, if they were good parents and you enjoy their company and they're helpful, yeah, care for them as much as you want to. Again, no fear, no obligation, no guilt. But if they were abusive, if they were mean, nasty, snarky, hurtful, abusive physically, mentally, emotionally, or otherwise, then no, you don't owe them jack diddly squat. You really don't. But yeah, they do. They do look at us. And I've seen some parents, oh my God. So this one I'm thinking of in particular, they would spin, gamble, 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 gamble. They were always at the casino, always spending stuff. Sorry, the allergies are really bad. And they would run out of money, and then they would turn to the kids and be like, well, we blew all of our money, our Social Security or whatever, gambling. You need to pay our rent. You need to pay our money. You need to pay this. You need to pay that. And I told the kids, I'm like, no, stop. Stop. They're never going to stop as long as somebody is enabling them. You've got to stop bailing them out. It's not your job. And of course they did the whole, but, you know, you got to get to the point where it's like, okay, if you were not related to these people, would you be doing this? The answer to that is a resounding no. So yeah, they absolutely do that. Absolutely. Okay. Any advice on time management after ending an abusive relationship? I started a new 45-hour-a-week job, and I feel I don't have time to work on my healing as I'm so tired all of the time. Ooh, okay. So the best way to do that is to schedule it in. You are going to be tired. you are not going to have a lot of energy to work on you, especially working a 45-hour-a-week job and having just ended an abusive relationship. So really what it is you need to do self-care. And self-care may mean lying on the floor and staring up at the ceiling and just doing nothing. That might be self-care, or it might be taking a hot bath, or it might be, reading a self-help book, but you baby steps. Don't beat yourself up. Take care of your body. Make sure you're eating good, eating healthy, drinking enough water, do get enough sleep, and schedule things in. If you can schedule it in, even if it's a half an hour, okay? From here to here, I'm going to meditate, or from here to here, I'm going to read this book, or from here to here, I'm going to, take a hot bath or whatever. So schedule it. The most successful clients are the ones that stick to a schedule. They have a schedule, they get into the routine, and they just do it. So it's like brushing your teeth. So for example, you work on your healing when you can, right? So like if you're super busy and you're tired by the time you get home, when you're brushing your teeth in the morning, hi, good to see you. Have a great day. You know what? I really like you. You know what? You deserve to be happy. It's okay for you to be happy. Did you know that? It is. It's okay for you to be happy. Do you see where I'm going with that? So you do that while you're brushing your teeth. Killing two birds with one stone. You slip it in when you can. You do self-affirmations throughout the day. 15-minute break. Okay, is my shoulders down? Am I separating my shoulders from my ears? Okay, good. Is my tongue at the top of my roof of my mouth? Okay, got to loosen up the jaw. Okay, I'm going to do a few head rolls. Oh, yeah, baby. Breathe. Woo! Oxygen. Yeah. Do you see where I'm going? It's like it doesn't have to be like a huge self-help hour. It can be grab it where you can. Grab it where you can. Grab it where you can. Take good care of yourself. This is really hard on us when we are leaving an abusive relationship. We're working a big job. So you grab it when you can. So do take good self-care. Slip in self-work when you can. Don't beat yourself up. So, and schedule it. Schedule it in. Seriously, schedule it in. That's the most successful clients are the ones that stick to a schedule and schedule in self-care, or schedule in time to read or work on books or journal or whatever. So do that. Okay. How typical is it that a narc parent won't sign a will because they feel it is betting on their life? Oh my God. Yes. Like it opens up the door to them dying. Oh God. I am so glad you mentioned that. Narcissists are terrified of dying. Terrified. I mean, hands down, terrified. Worse than little kids. Actually, little kids usually aren't. They don't really have the concept. But you know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, they're terrified of it. And I have seen so many narcissists either refuse to write a will, write the will, but then refuse to sign it for those exact same reasons. Oh, well, if I sign it, I'm going to die. Newsflash, nobody gets out of here alive. But they refuse to deal with that. So healthy, normal people have a will, because if you've got stuff and you want to make sure it goes to your heirs, the people that you want, not just who the government tells you that it's going to go to, you do a will. That's what healthy, normal people do. But narcissists, abso-fucking-lutely. They will not sign the will. They'll refuse to do a will. I'm never going to die. I'm or then you get nut jobs like my dad, who had more wills than fucking Howard Hughes. And depending on who pissed him off, he'd write him in, write him out, write him in, write him out, write him in, write him out, cuckoo. So yeah, they absolutely do that because they're terrified of dying. And this reminds them they are mortal. And guess what? At some point in time, they're going to meet their maker, and it's probably not going to be pretty. So yeah, absolutely. Yes, they're terrified of dying. They're terrified of dying because they can't control it. There's no control. When you're dead, who knows what's on the other side? Could be nothing. Could be heaven. Could be Valhalla. That could be fun. All sorts of stuff. Who knows? We don't know. We don't have a for sure definitive. We got some clues. We got some ideas. We got some religious guides to kind of help us, but we don't know. And narcissists hate that because they have no control. And somebody else is going to be probably replaying their life to them, showing them every rotten thing they've ever done to anyone, and they'll have to feel it. Yay. I like that. Not that I'm vindictive or anything, but oh my God, am I vindictive or anything, especially with that. So anyway, okay, there that is. Okay. Yes, they will not sign wills. They feel like they are betting on their life. Yeah, absolutely. You are correct. All right. Every time I try to pay personal debts one of my controlling parents finds a way to throw me off or to come up with an unexpected expense, yes. Should I just not tell them in the future? You tell them nothing. Absolutely nothing. So, what I see abusers do is when a child or spouse or whatever is getting close to getting stuff paid off, they'll run out and they'll run up bills, or they'll have some sort of emergency where you have to pay for it, or you just don't tell them. You keep them out of the loop. I'm serious. When they want to know serious stuff, how about them Dodgers? That's what you talk about. You do not talk about serious financial stuff. They do not need to know. And what we tend to do, though, is when we've got an abusive parent or an abusive spouse or whatever, we overshare. That is the biggest thing I have to break people of when they are leaving the relationship, is that I tell them, you've got to stop telling your abuser what you're doing. You cannot tell them that you've got a bank account. You cannot tell them that you're squirreling away money. You cannot tell them that you have a GoFundMe somewhere to help you get the attorney's fees. You cannot tell them that. But we've been so brainwashed and so trained to tell the narcissist, the abuser, everything. So we overshare. We tell them good news, thinking that, like a healthy, normal parent, they're going to be like, oh, honey, good for you. You've got this paid off. Fantastic. Good job. Now you can get a savings. No, they don't want you to do better than them. They do not. So they will sabotage any good thing that you tell them. If you're telling them that you're paying off bills, they'll sabotage it. If you're telling them that you're happy because of X, Y, and Z, they'll sabotage it. So you've got to stop telling them. You've just got to stop telling them. And if they ask, how about them Dodgers? What about that baseball season? You keep it surface. Absolutely nothing serious, nothing personal, nothing financial. Absolutely. So yeah, they do that. Absolutely. Okay, what should you do to protect your finances and savings? Okay, so if you are in an abusive situation, you have to have your own bank account that they have absolutely no access to. Super important, like seriously super important. I strongly suggest getting it at a bank that they don't go to, so that you can have your own bank, have your own teller, have your own, whatever, and they have no access to it, no knowledge of it. So there is that. You don't allow them to be on your checking account. You don't allow them to be on your savings account. If they are, you open a different one, and then you put some into there, but then you put the majority of it, over in yours. So they don't need to know. And especially, I know with spouses, that's hard to do because, they're oftentimes, what their bullshit is they'll march in and go, oh, you don't need a job. You don't have to work. You can stay home with the kids. And then what they'll do is they'll get their spouse pregnant over and over and over again. Now you've got 3 or 4 little kids running around, no job, no way to save money. You're dependent on this narcissist that's, spending the money as fast as they can. They give you money to go shopping, want to see the bills. It's really hard. So you have to be smart about it. You have to open up an account they know nothing about. I strongly, if you're going to get out, try a GoFundMe account. Get money to get an attorney to get the hell out. They cannot know anything about it. You need to really treat your money like they can't know. They absolutely cannot know. So yeah, get a bank account that they know nothing about. Get a bank account that they have no access to. Yeah. So, and start budgeting. Start figuring out how to budget. And that's another thing that they'll do is they'll put you on an allowance, right? So they'll be like, oh, well, you can have this much money. And then if you go over that, they come unglued and they punish you and they do whatever because they're trying to keep you unable to leave. That's their whole goal, is they don't want you to have enough money to get an attorney, to get an apartment, to be able to take care of yourself, to be able to take care of the kids, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So if they're putting you on an allowance, I would strongly suggest you go get a job. And they'll try to sabotage that. I've seen them do that as well. So, the spouse will go out and get a job and then, oh, I'm sorry, you can't have the car today. Oh, the car isn't working. You can't use it, especially if it's a job you have to drive to. So yeah, they will. And at some point, you're just going to have to you're going to have to leave because it's never going to get better. It's never going to get better. You will never be able to save up the amount of money you need to if you are still with the abuser. You're going to have to leave, get to a shelter, get to a friend's house, get to whatever, but get out. So there is that. Do we have any other questions? Okay, I think we're good for today. All right, so next week, what I want to talk about is I want to talk about the hole that abusive parents leave in us as survivors and what we can do to start healing that. So the question was kind of like, okay, well, I'm looking for a substitute, but I find that I'm now obsessing about that. So we're going to talk about the balance between finding a substitute parent, healing ourselves, healing that hole, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there that is. All right, kids, have a great week, and I will talk to you next week, and the topic will be healing the hole. All right, talk to you later. Well, that sounds terrible, doesn't it? Let me try that again. Healing the hole, healing the emotional hole that parents leave. So healing the wound. Yeah, healing the parental wound. That's what we're going to talk about. All right, kids, I will talk to you later. Be good. Talk to you later. Bye.